Hi everybody, so I thought it was finally time for me to finally make a video about my tarantula. I have a G. rosea, which is also not commonly known as the Chilean rosehair. She is, I would say, approximately 4, maybe 5 years. I believe her leg span is about 4 inches. I'm guessing. Okay, I haven't really measured her, but I would assume 4, maybe 5 inches. She might be fully grown. I got her a while back, maybe about 2.5 months ago. She's my very first tarantula. I'm actually ordering me an LP and a Grammostolia pulchra and a green bottle blue. So that's kind of the tarantulas that I'm going to be getting, and I should have those within the next couple of weeks. When I get them, I'll make sure to do a video on them as well. So it's just more of like a handling video and kind of like a care video as well. Just kind of showing you like the kind of setup that I have for her and everything else that kind of goes into owning a tarantula. First off, they make absolutely amazing pets. They're super easy and cheap to keep up with. They don't really require too much. Sorry, I was looking at a butterfly out the window. Pretty much when it comes to having a G. rosea is you need a hideout, maybe a couple of twigs for her to climb between, a dish with preferably like sponge or something in it, because with their mouthpieces, they're underneath them. So if you have just like an open water source, they can drown themselves. So you want to make sure that you have something in between like the water and the tarantula. She still can get moisture and water and everything. And as far as their diets, rose hairs aren't really the biggest eaters. I guess it really kind of depends on your tarantula in particular. Because I have some friends that have rose hairs that eat like madmen. Mine really hasn't eaten much. She's maybe eaten 1 or 2 crickets in like the 2 or 3 months that I've had her. So I mean, rose hairs are super cheap to feed because crickets only cost like 14 cents. But yeah, there's really not much that goes into it. And you need to have a good substrate. It can either be organic, chemical-free potting soil, or you can find like the coconut bedding or the just your typical reptile substrate from PetSmart or Petco or any animal store that you can find it. Rose hairs don't need a lot of space, so a 20-gallon tank is going to be too big for them. Typically, it's between 5 to 10 gallons for an adult female. For slings, you're going to need something a lot smaller. You can start them off in like little medicine cups that have been cleaned, or then you can move them to like little plastic condiment cups with a lid that has holes in for ventilation, and then up to deli cups, and then into their enclosure. So I'll kind of show you what I have. Nothing too hard. I don't use a heating lamp, mainly because it can't, for my particular species, or I've read a lot that people have had tarantulas die from the heating lamps. So I prefer not to have one, just because she seems pretty happy and content in her enclosure without one. Moisture levels, you want to have it pretty dry. This is fresh substrate. So as of right now, it is a little more damp than I would prefer it to be, but it is slowly starting to dry out. And I did let it dry out beforehand, because with this particular type, you have to add water in order for it to expand and fill up a whole thing. And like it was like a little tiny little brick thing, like, I don't know, like that big. And when I put water with it, it was enough to fill all this in. So right here, she has her hideout. That's her right there. Gave her like 2 sticks and some of that. She's got a little bit of webbing at the bottom. And she's not that big of a heavy webber. Now that she's got like her new substrate and everything, like I just moved her into this enclosure, and she's starting to web a lot more, which I'm super stoked about. I hope she continues. When it comes to tarantulas, a lot of people will get these and they don't really do their research. One of the biggest things that you have to remember is, because they are a New World species, they have these things called urticating hairs on their butts. I'm sorry, I don't remember which part's the carapace and which part's the abdomen. I'll work on that. but they have these barbed hairs on their butts. So when they feel like they're being threatened, they'll kick at their butts and they will release these hairs. They can get into your eyes, nose, and mouth, on your skin, and they itch really, really bad. Now, the rose-haired tarantula's hairs aren't typically that bad. She's kicked hairs at me maybe 2 or 3 times since I've got her. And it was very mild. The best way to get it off is to, first of all, if you see them kick their hairs, what I do is I'll turn my head, close my eyes, and then give it a second to settle. Once it settles, I put her back into her enclosure. I go to the bathroom, grab a washcloth with cold water that's damp, and you just want to dab. You don't want to rub. Rubbing's going to just dig those hairs, and you want to dab first. And then just put your hands under the water, let the water run, and then you can slowly begin to wash your hands with a mild soap. Everybody's reactions are a little bit different. It really depends on you personally with the tarantula. Some people are a lot more sensitive to tarantula hairs than the others. Rose hairs are pretty docile. They're not big biters. Like I said, once again, this also goes back to, sorry, your individual tarantula. I've seen some pretty nasty rose hairs that are a lot more aggressive, but typically speaking, they're going to be great beginners. They're slow movers. I've only seen mine strike once, and it was because I aggravated I aggravated her really bad. But they have to be highly provoked in order to bite. They'll give you warning stances when they raise their front legs. It's kind of like, hey, I'm aggravated. Don't mess with me. But other than that, they're typically fine. When it comes to handling, to each his own. I will tell you, the more you handle your tarantulas, the higher risk that you have of getting bitten. And with the size of their fangs, because they're pretty big, can cause mechanical damage. Most of the time with rose hairs, they'll give you more of a dry bite as to one where they inject venom. But for the most part, they've got super mild venom. However, it can send you into anaphylactic shock if you're allergic. Just like how with some people getting stung with bees, some people don't have a problem, and some people have a serious, massive problem and can't breathe. So once again, that's also going back to, it depends on you, it depends on your tarantula. Most people just prefer not to handle them. And when handling them, you do want to make sure that when you handle them, that you still hold them close to either your lap or the ground, and you supervise them very well, because even a drop from a foot can kill them. They are super fragile because of their size. It's not like your average small wolf spider, okay? These things are very bulky, they're bigger, and they're delicate. So always handle your tarantula with caution, because anytime you handle, you're risking your safety and your spider's. Also, it's best to test your spider's temperament before you begin to handle. And the best way to do that is to get a straw. I always say a straw because if they try to bite it with their fangs, you're not going to damage their fangs. But all you want to do is you want to tap their legs, and if they raise those front legs up, then that's a sign of, hey, I'm moody, I don't want to be messed with, can you leave me alone? Not all species will allow you to handle them, so please do your research. You definitely don't want to try to handle something like a cobalt blue, because those will mess you up. So I'm going to pretty much test her temperament first and see if I'm going to even be able to hold her for this video. If not, I apologize. And if she's going to let me hold her, then I'll show you guys how to handle them. Alright, so here she is. I'm going to stand up so you can kind of see her better. So when handling your tarantulas, you want to be very, very careful, like I said before, because you really don't want them to drop. See, she's a pretty decent size. You just want to make sure that you keep your hands flat. You don't want to make too many sudden movements. Try not to breathe too hard on her, because she may try to like lunge forward if she's scared. Like I said, really just being careful. I do have like a little plastic bin underneath me just in case she were to fall. You want to take super, super duper safe precautions for her. Let me see if I can get a close up. Her name is Melody. I had a little 6-year-old name her, and she just got done watching Little Mermaid 2. But they're super sweet. they don't really like to be handled. They just kind of tolerate it pretty much. You know, they just deal with it as to like really enjoying it. It's not like they sit there at the cage tapping on it saying, "Hey mom, handle me." They would be super happy even if you didn't handle them. They'd probably be happier if you didn't. I normally use mine for education purposes. When I have friends that have like phobias of tarantulas, I can kind of bring her out and let them see that, she's okay. And that they don't have to fear something that they don't really know. These would be great for children too, as I would say children about 5 to 6 years and up. But you always want to make sure that you're supervising children with these. You want to make sure that you're helping them handle it if you choose to let them handle. And like I said, really it goes to researching your particular type of tarantula. There are 3 ways to pick a tarantula up. 2 of the other ways I'm not fully comfortable with right now. Normally I just kind of tap their legs, like that. And they'll move in the direction that you tap them in. You can also pick them up by the middle part of their bodies. If I can get her to be still, I'll kind of show you. She's not going to. But between I would say their first and second hind legs, there's a small little gap. And that's kind of where you can like pick them up gently by, or you can cup them in your hands. I don't think she'd have a problem with me picking her up that way, but me personally, I just don't feel comfortable enough with her to do that. I know she's probably not going to do anything to me, but just for her safety and mine, I would prefer for her to just walk onto my hand if she feels so inclined to do so. So that's all I'm really going to handle her for today. Like I said, she's super sweet. Oh, and another thing too, let me go ahead and mention this. There are different types of tarantulas as far as their needs. She is more of a terrestrial, so she's pretty much just going to stay at the bottom of her enclosure. They are not good climbers because they don't really have the right body for it. And you really shouldn't have anything too high that they can climb on, because if they fall, once again, that goes back to, oops, they're dead. Arboreal species, which is another word for tree climbing species. Those are going to be the ones that are going to climb. So you do need something that they can kind of climb up in, spin their webs in, all that other good stuff. When getting a tarantula, just do tons and tons of research and make sure that it is the best pet for you. I think they are awesome. I recommend those for anybody who really wants a cool ooh and ah pet. They're really fun to watch. Rose hares are more of the pet rock, so they don't do much, which is why I'm getting different species. But they're great beginner spiders and a must-have for any tarantula owner. Just because, as sweet as they are, you should have one. And it's also great to be able to have one that you can show your friends. I love mine. I never thought I would. I had arachnophobia before I got her, and now I'm arachnophilic. And that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any more questions or comments, just post them at the bottom. Subscribe. I'll have more videos of Melody in the future. I just knew that I've had videos of her, but I've never really had one of me handling her. And maybe I'll give a more detailed video on them or whatever. And like I said, as soon as I get my LP or my G Pulchra or my green bottle blue, I'll make sure that I do videos on them. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you made it all the way through the end of this video. Have a nice day. Bye.